Why is this guy the only one for who it works? It's just the phone.
Don't you feel silly? Don't you feel stupid? Don't you feel a little ashamed? Oh my God!
Today, we're going to be running Minecraft off of this.
People be like, let's go. Hold up.
Now, some of you might be asking, what even is this damn thing? This is an EV3. It's a Lego brick brain computer thing that you can use to control motors, sensors, etc. But this one group of people were like, what if we were to put Linux on this? So they did. And now we have the EV3 Dev, which is a Debian-based Linux operating system. And we are gonna use it to run Minecraft. Now, this thing is old by today's standards. Some of you might even call this ancient. If we open up our favorite IDE, Visual Studio, Vim is a lot better, and connect the EV3 that is plugged in via a USB cable, we can open up a shell to tell us more about it. Now, we can see here that the processor is running is an ARM 926 EJ-S revision 5 version 51, whatever that's supposed to mean. If we Google this, we can see from this page that the first release of this chip was in 2001. But since we have the revision 5, which I'm guessing is revision E, that means that this chip is from 2008. It's a year older than Minecraft. So when the EV3 came out, this chip was already 5 years old. The first version of Minecraft that supported multiplayer and running a server yourself was Alpha v1.0.15, which came out in 2010. Now, I have this launcher called Betacraft, link in the description hopefully if I remember to add it. And this launcher gives you the ability to play patched old Minecraft versions so they don't crash. Now that I had the client, it was time to get my hands on the server jar. So I tried to scour the internet and find something, anything about the jar file. And I stumbled upon this file over here, this very funny exe file. I dropped it into Bitdefender, no threats. Virus total was a different story though. A whopping 5 out of 67 antiviruses detected it. Whoa, there's no way that this is a false positive. So I decided to go full on Mudahar and bring out the VM. Unfortunately, I'm not a Linux main and I can't just run this on bare metal, so I used VirtualBox to run a Windows 10 virtual machine, which is a lot slower than running it on bare metal since it has to emulate the processor calls and everything. I transferred the exe file, double clicked it, and it said I needed to install Java. So it seemed like this was an actual option. Until I noticed something. The file was an exe, and I was trying to run it under Linux. and this was just not going to work, so I continued my search. 15 minutes of searching later, I stumbled across this spreadsheet, the OmniArchive Index. This listed that they had the server version 0.1.0, which was meant for the Minecraft version I was looking for. I joined their Discord server, but there seemed to be no sign of the server jar anywhere, so I went to general and asked about it. And I pretty much instantly got an answer. It was a link to the Betacraft server archive. So pretty much, I just wasted a lot of time trying to find the jar file when it was right under my nose. I mean, actually it really wasn't, since you had to know to type in /server-archive after the URL, since there was no button for it on the actual website. I really hope they'll change this, but they might have their own reasons for this. Now, having gained access to the server jar and the client, I started the server, logged in with the client, and it worked. It consumed a low 74 megabytes of RAM. Well, a tiny bit more on the startup, but you know, it doesn't really matter that much. Now, checking the amount of RAM the EV3 has, 56 megabytes. Great. Well, fuck it, I can probably use some of the swap as well. I mean, it might be slow, but technically it'll still be running. Now, the next challenge is to get Java onto the EV3. At least that's what I thought. Turns out, Java is installed by default and you can just host a server from it. That's anticlimactic. I do remember trying this before too, and I don't really remember if I installed any Java versions onto it, but I'm sorry if I did and forgot. But there is like a Java language for the EV3 dev as well, so that might work as well. I tried to start the server a few times, and on the third try, I succeeded. For this, I started the server off with an extra argument, -XMX128M, which gives it 128 megabytes of RAM to assure it would not run out of memory. Even though it has only 56 megabytes of RAM, of which 35 megabytes were free, I can still allocate it more memory, which probably comes from swap. It took half an hour, but it started up. Unfortunately, I had no success connecting to it, so I decided to continue the following day.
2 days later.
I came back to the project, started up the EV3, did a bit of funky stuff with the Bluetooth connection, and launched the server. It launched a lot quicker this time. What had taken over 30 minutes before now only took a minute or two. Now for the moment of truth. And the IP didn't work, of course. So I looked at the EV3 that actually shows its IP and tried to connect to that. And that IP actually worked. The IP on the screen was the correct one. It stayed downloading terrain for a while, but in the end I did manage to get in. I mean, the world was empty and I just fell into the void and died, but progress is progress. And then I had this weird stuttering sun thing, and then I got timeouted soon. Did I mention that the connection thing to it was extremely inconsistent? A simple ping command got me a minimum ping of 31 milliseconds, which is pretty good, and a maximum ping of 1672 milliseconds. That was across 4 32-bit packets being sent. That's not fucking good. So I decided to restart the EV3. After starting the server up again, I connected, almost immediately fell through the world, and actually finally spawned in. I could see a few chunks around me. Damn, that's very good progress. So I went and attempted to cut down a tree, nearly lost my life when one of the blocks appeared again, got timeouted and saw a long error log in the console. I didn't manage to break any blocks. I reconnected. It took a lot longer for me to actually load into the world, but I eventually did just that and started thinking, what if I could edit how many chunks the server loaded? After all, in the modern server.properties files, there's a line which lets you edit how many chunks the server loads for every player. I checked the files and the server.properties file did exist, but the console was really slow and I couldn't open up Nano, so I decided to reboot it from the EV3 directly. After a quick reboot, there was no IP shown on the EV3 and the Bluetooth connection had failed, which I'm guessing is important for the actual, internet, the Ethernet, whatever. Also, the shell didn't open, even over a wire connection, so yeah. After the next reboot, everything connected fine and I could finally edit the server.properties file. And it turned out there were only 3 properties which I could even change: level name, server IP, and server port, none of which had any use to me. So I just ran the server again, failed to connect, and gave up. And that's it for me at the moment. I could attempt writing my own, maybe more lightweight server software, but for that I'd need a lot of time. I need to decompile the code, understand it, and rewrite it in another language, most likely. And I have no idea how the client-server communications even go. I've never done it before. And I just don't have enough time nor motivation to work on it. So if this video gets, let's see, 690 likes, then I'll make a part 2 where I'll attempt to actually code the server software. But that's it for me right now. See ya!